Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Torin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I'll be playing the Greenskins, and I'm going to be facing off against the Bretonnian Peasant Blob. So this is actually a build I've been seeing a lot of lately. I'm not sure who started it or where it came from, but I haven't been seeing too many Grail Knights, Knights of the Realm, Pegasus Knights, anything like that. But a lot of the Bretonnian builds I've been running into are just mainly men-at-arms, the pole-arms, obviously, who are very, very good. They can deal with Black Orcs. Granted, Black Orcs aren't great in this matchup. They can deal with them. They have really high melee defense at 43 with this buffs right here. And then they also just bring the Spearmen at arms with shields, and they also put chevrons on them. So I've been seeing this a lot, of course, with slight variations. Some folks will bring damsels, some won't, just to kind of squeeze in a few more groups of peasant bowmen, but definitely a very tough build to crack. But he has a center line of peasant bowmen here, front line of these men-at-arms with pole arms, it looks like, and then in the back he has the spearmen at arms with shields, who also do have charge defense against all, so very, very good for how much you're paying for those guys. Then, of course, he also has King Lewin and 2 paladins, so it's been a tough build to crack, but I think the Doomdiver catapults are the key, at least for Greenskins, but that's if you can protect them. So we'll go ahead. I know I usually start with my army, but I guess we already went over that, so let's get right into the business here. So I have some orc boys here, front line of these guys. Gobbos, I think the goblins actually have silver shields. So if you guys take a look here at the armor, you can see the bronze shield icon, which means I believe it's a 30% block chance or something like that. And then the goblins, I think, actually have it higher. But these guys have pretty good stats aside from that. They do have 34 weapon strength, 26 melee defense, and 26 melee attack. And keep in mind, good is subjective. It's not the best, but it's not terrible either. So front line orc boys, just kind of experimenting a little bit, switching it up. And normally I do like to use gobbos in the front line, but these guys seem to do pretty well for themselves, especially against lightly armored troops. That 34 weapon strength for how cheap they are isn't terrible. So I also have Doomdiver catapults, so I have 2 of these. So if you're going to invest in Doomdivers, you also need to invest in the Orc Boarboy / Goblin Big Boss Goon Squad, which I did. So I have the resources to protect these. So thankfully he doesn't have too many mobile units, and a lot of his troops are focused in this pocket here. So really all I need to protect them against is King Lewin and the Paladin Goon Squad. So in the back line I have Durusty Errors, who are currently hidden, but these are a great anti-Lewin tool. These guys do some serious work. They're not going to punch through his HP a lot themselves, but if you get a few good volleys on King Lewin, sunder his armor and then allow your orc boars to kind of just skewer the beakus up there, it's a pretty good deal for sure. I have an orc war boss and then an orc shaman with the foot of Gork and the other buffs, and that's pretty much it. And also I can't neglect to mention I have some goblin wolf riders out here on the flank who I'm very, very excited about. One of my favorite units against Bretonnia. It's just annoying for 300 resources, and peasants rout a lot. So having these guys chasing down peasants is very, very good in my opinion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the action, guys. So you can see the Doomdiver catapults are coming in hard. There's already 6 of them flying in there. And just look at the HP damage it does to these models here. You can see this group took about 5-7% HP damage, and this group took a good 8 to 10% just from one volley. So it's very, very good. You can see they're already shaken from taking that fire. So personally, I think Doomdivers, their accuracy and their lack of armor piercing, it doesn't really matter against Bretonnian peasant infantry. You can see they're just going to continue to get punished here by the Doomdivers, which I'm very, very happy about. Definitely one of my favorite units in the game to use. I feel like it's just better than even against like Black Orcs or Chosen or heavily armored units. I feel like the accuracy greatly outweighs the lack of armor piercing. Because if you have like Goblin Rock Clobbers, they'd be flying over into the mountains over here. One of them would probably hit King Lewin. Just doesn't do the trick for me. But again, everyone has different experiences. That's just been my completely anecdotal experience. So our front line here is about to engage. He does fly over with King Lewin and this Paladin, and I immediately pull my Orc Boarboy Biggins, my Goblin Big Bosses, and all those other fun units over to support these Doomdivers. Kind of had them in a little bit of an awkward position. I probably should have just left them back here, but he does see me coming and knows it's probably not a good idea to land, as I do have the Goblin Big Bosses on the Spiders, which provides the poison attack, as you guys can see. So very, very strong mechanic there. So in the front line, you can see the Orc boys are engaged with the peasants, and it's actually not a terrible matchup so far. They're at 88 models to the 86 here, and they're kind of trading relatively evenly. But once the Biggins get in here, these guys are just the anti-peasants. If you can get Biggins in without getting cut down by peasant bowman fire, it's going to be a really bad day for Bretonnian peasant infantry. And you can see there's some skewering going on, but the orcs are definitely going to win this in a prolonged engagement without the support of the peasant bowman. Now the peasants are firing a little bit, but at the same time, they're taking a ton of Doomdiver fire. So my opponent, realizing that he's obstructed by the close proximity, scoots back just a little bit, and he'll probably return to his normal firing here soon. So something that's been really great, though, is I kind of just park these guys under King Lewin, honestly. And, one of the things about Doomdiver catapults against Bretonnia is if you don't have the resources to protect them, you're just going to get crunched on. But, I have all these really powerful units against heroic units just parked under here, and I feel like I have enough of a advantage in this front line to do pretty well. But I was able to detach a group of orc boars, and you can see they're taking some arrows as they charge into the peasants, but they're going to do some good skewering, and you can see the peasants taking a nice little tumble. That one flew really, really far, my goodness. And also some of the Goblin Wolf Riders were able to circumvent his defenses. and get back here. And that's just 300 resources right there, disrupting this whole battle line. And you can also see the Doom Divers flying in. Just, you know, just got to put a lot of pressure on those peasant bowmen, because those guys, if left, you know, unimpeded, can just absolutely decimate your greenskin infantry, because you're not going to bring black orcs against Bretonnia. The men-at-arms and polearms are pretty good against them. They're very slow and, you know, subject to that kind of long harass playstyle. But, you know, the biggins, if left unchecked by peasant bowman fire, can do pretty good. And you can see that these Doom Divers are continuing to come in and just punish these peasants. So these guys are broken, and most of his peasant bowman line has already been broken by the Doom Diver fire. A lot of them were around 30-40% when the battle started, so that was a pretty good situation. I also snuck a Goblin Big Boss over here, and I finally brought King Lewin back. So he had King Lewin parked here for so long. He really wanted to make sure, you know, not make sure, but of course see if he could get them down, because they were destroying his peasant bowman line. But, you know, there wasn't really a good opportunity for him, but he finally pulls them back and is chasing off some of my orc boars here, so very, very well played there. And he's probably also going to punish this Goblin Big Boss, who's pretty quick. I think he actually has, what is his move speed? It's only 78? That doesn't seem right. I guess it's 78 on the spider. I think the wolf is faster, but King Lewin and all the boys with like 100 move speed will definitely catch him, and you can see he's already pretty much toast. So, fun stuff there. So at this point, when he flew Lewin around, I was able to bring my kind of mobile cav force, and we're just going to chase down some peasants here. You can see these Goblin Wolf Riders skewering a few of them, and there's kind of a mass rout going on. Now, this is very typical in the Bretonnian peasant matchup. They'll mass rout and then maybe regroup over here, and, you know, form a second battle line, and it'll be really tough, especially with peasant bowmen regrouping and just shooting at these infantry here. But thankfully, I just still have so many mobile troops left, and you can see these orc boars are kind of just riding around, chasing down peasants. Over here, he has a pretty healthy group too, so I got to make sure not to get caught up on those. But my infantry line did take a lot of damage. You can see the orc boars are in pretty bad shape, but the biggins with 67 models. Then over here, I have one with 69 models and 34 respectively, who are actually still confident despite all that. So Doom Divers are also really great for this. You know, when the battle comes to this point, a lot of his troops are routing off. You just use the Doom Divers to keep them routing. Because Bretonnia, one of their biggest strengths, obviously, is when they do rout, they come back in numbers. And it's very hard to do in that long playstyle. And that whole time, you know, King Lewin can be riding around. Let's go ahead and see where Lewin is. Yeah, see, he's in the back line. He did land here, which is very, very risky because I had some heroic units back here. But he saw the intrinsic value in getting rid of those Doom Divers, and he did rout them off. But unfortunately for him, Lewin, when he gets poisoned by the Goblin Big Boss, you can see his speed is down to 76. So my Cav and the Goblin Big Bosses are just about as fast as him now, and they're going to get a nice little surround on him. You can see he's taking serious damage, and he's down to 48 models, which is brutal. Not models, 48 armor. So essentially, he's just as armored as a biggin right now, and he's just getting skewered by these guys. And then, of course, the shaman here uses a nice little buff. He uses Ere We Go, so they're really, really going to be making solid contact. So he does pull a paladin in to try and rescue King Lewin, but you can see Lewin just got chunked down, and poor Beakus there just gets skewered by the orc boars. And this paladin probably isn't long for this earth. Those Dalrestiers, they are obstructed now shooting at the paladin, but they were getting some great shots on Lewin, as you guys saw there. But the infantry battle went pretty well. These biggins are kind of just cleaning up the peasants. And the peasants, without the support of Lewin and paladins and things like that, are definitely going to have a hard time. And a lot of the peasant bowmen, as you can see, they're very tattered. There's a group over here. There's some shattered groups over there. And then also, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, the goblins are just invaluable in this matchup. They're chasing down a lot of these kind of scattered peasants and, you know, doing really, really well. I mean, you guys will see they'll probably rack up, you know, 40 to 70 kills, I would guess, after all is said and done, which is so good for 300 resources. Definitely cannot complain at all. So things are going pretty well in the back line, and it looks like that may be all she wrote for our Bretonnian ally. So let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown. Well, not our ally, but our friend. So, yeah, you can see the biggins, 136 kills, 95 kills, and 68 respectively, even though Orc Boys got a fair amount. But, you know, again, guys, take a look at the MVPs here. The Doom Divers, 147, 170. That is so many for how much you're paying. I believe they cost 900, so they absolutely paid for themselves. And not only did they pay for themselves in kills, but they also paid for themselves defensively in the fact that they just shut down this peasant bowman line in conjunction with some of my other mobile troops. So, as far as my opponent's forces go, the peasant bowman had a tough time, but his infantry line here, especially these men-at-arms, held up pretty darn well. These guys actually got 37 kills, so it just shows that, you know, some spearmen-at-arms with chevrons, especially against lightly armored troops, can do pretty darn well. But anyways, really good game to my opponent, Joey Abella, 1992. I look forward to seeing you again on ladder, and I hope you guys enjoyed this Greenskin cast. Have an excellent night, and take care.